Good evening. It's Monday, June 22nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. This is a meeting of the Katuitt Fire District Prudential Committee. At this point, I'm going to ask that all those who are able stand and pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take the roll call. Mark Lynch.
Seth Burdick, present.
John Havel, present.
Rick Perone, present.
Brian Willett, present.
Okay, with that, we will take public comment. Is there any public comment online?
No, there's not.
There's
Okay. Go ahead.
Patty Daly, 45 Danfield Drive, and I'm speaking as a resident of the district. I see that there's a follow-up that in the district meeting on your agenda, so I have 2 items to speak to that. One is the question of the absentee ballot in-person voting. That I'm not even sure the whole board is aware of what happened, but for a day or two, district residents were told that you're only absentee ballot by mail. When in fact, that's not true. You can walk into the clerk's office, pull out an absentee ballot and leave it there and kind of vote counting. I did follow up with Attorney Boudreaux and then I thank him for taking my call. An interesting conversation. It didn't seem to be going anywhere until I actually said I'm not going to have to file an injunction report on that, which I don't believe we took my concerns seriously. But what happened was he had been advised by the Secretary of State Elections Division attorney that the fire district could not accept absentee ballots in person. And I got a hold of that citation, and the very first sentence you look at, it's obvious that that section only applies if accepted by the district. So those state provisions of state law are official ballots. Do not apply unless the district itself goes to adopt them, which had not happened. So, I mean, thankfully the issue was corrected. I mean, it was especially acute this year because of the change of the meeting dates. So there was only like 7 days or 8 days, whatever it was, between the originally scheduled meeting and the meeting that occurred. So it just made the whole mailing situation rather fraught. This is serious. Like, you're potentially disenfranchising voters. So I just suggest that we pay more attention when these kind of issues come up in the future. My second issue is goes to the bylaws committee bylaw amendment that had to do with chapter 66 of Mass General Law, which is public records. And it was stated from the floor of the meeting that chapter 66 does not apply to districts. That is not true. This is especially important because the clerk needs to understand that chapter 66 does apply. And let me explain to you how I reach that conclusion. I draw copies. There's 2 different pieces.
Thank you. Here. You should go. Thanks.
So I'm guessing what that is. Nobody read chapter 66, but they didn't read it all over. So section 6A specifically references record access officers, designation powers or duties. And I've highlighted as well that mine was. But the purpose of this chapter is for the agency shall be any entity of the municipality identified in Mass General Law, chapter 4, section 7, clause 20, which is a mouthful, as possessing public records. And then you go on to the next page, you see under section 10. And again, it's public records as defined in clause 26, section 7, chapter 4. So then if you go to the second window, that is chapter 4, section 7, 26. Where it clearly says that or any political subdivision thereof. So public records means, books, papers, etc. Of any agency, executive office, department, or commission, bureau, division, or authority of the Commonwealth, or any political subdivision thereof. We are a political subdivision. So I think it's pretty clear, to the extent you want to disagree, I would suggest that that's what I council. Because you really need to read it all together, understand how it works. And I'm dismayed that the district meeting went home thinking that that law did not apply. So again, I would suggest, if I had had prior notice that that was going to be an amendment from the floor, I could have worked with the movement, motion. But I had no idea, so it was kind of blindsided me when I was out there. So I didn't object because I felt that the rest of the language accomplished what the bylaws committee wanted to do. But again, let the whole district body with the impression that that didn't help, especially important for the clerk, is I think you really need to read through chapter 66 to make sure you understand all of that as you take on this role. So that's just everything.
Any other public comment?
Hi, Carol says 86 Putnam Ave to it. First, we'd just like to give a shout out to Brian for doing an exceptional job as a clerk with all sorts of things thrown at you left, right, and center. You were very calm and easy to deal with when I had questions about the absentee ballots and after I spoke about control and all that kind of stuff. So it was great. It was just great. And I think that, well, that's enough. So I wanted to say that first. The other questions I have are about are there any records left in Charlie Eagle's basement? Because he used to keep all the voters' records in his basement. And last year or so, I forget the timing on this, Lisa Haven was going to be getting all those records and start digitizing them. So I didn't want to throw this out there during the ADM and stuff, and you guys working on more, but it's been in the back of my mind trying to find out if our gratuitous voter records are still in that basement or has the digitized project going forward. And the next issue, I did get new quotes for audio and video from the company that I got quotes from years ago. I will forward them to the Prudential Committee board and Ryan. They're pretty much the same numbers. And I do want to ask Ray if it's still correct that the Prudential Committee can spend up to $10,000 without having to go through a bidding process. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that's it. And the other thing is, I've done this at the other commissioners meetings, is to really talk with a different hat on, is that the Katuitt Civic Association is now doing a digital currents, which means that deadline is somewhat flexible. I'm not going to say it is, but it isn't, for getting commissioners' submissions into our new digital format. So like tonight's meeting, if there was something after this meeting that you wanted to include, we could most likely include it this month. And I know we're not going to print, so to speak, digital print until Tuesday or Wednesday. So We have a mailing list over 1,000 at this point and growing, so I really encourage the board to think about doing monthly submissions. If at all possible, we'd love to have your input. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any public comment online? Nope. Our next agenda item, I'm going to move up, bear with me one moment, the school demolition update to accommodate our project manager who has another commitment in about 20 minutes. Briefly, I want to introduce Joe Sullivan, who works for Left Field LLC, which is the Katuitt Fire District's project manager for the school demolition project. Project manager is an entity that by Massachusetts law must be hired by municipal entity for projects over a certain size. And Joe and his colleagues have been instrumental in moving the project forward, keeping us advised and giving us advice on how to proceed on certain topics. He is here just to give an update on the current state of the school demolition. As he's joined by his colleagues, Kaylee Gallo and Kevin Sullivan as well. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Mark. And it's, as Mark indicated, Joe Sullivan from Left Field Project Management. There's been a lot of activity and positive swing to the start and completion of this project. Our abatement process has been completed as early as the middle of last week. That meant all of the abatement of the asbestos throughout the building, whether it be the floor tile or the basement, has been completed. They've actually done all of the abatement on the exterior of the building, along the windows and the window sills and any of the caulking related to that. We're in the process where we just had the permanent power disconnected as of last Friday, and the permit for demolition has been completed and applied for. My expectation is that we should hear something over the next couple of days for a permit being issued. And then you'll start to see the activities of the addition, which is the 1970 addition, that will be knocked down along with the roofing assembly on the building. Overall, the abatement process went smoothly, effectively, and the transcripts have all been done and handled appropriately per the state guidelines. Our goal is to, get the building down as quickly as possible and removed and disposed of with transcripts, and then have the plantings done shortly thereafter. My expectation is, as I indicated, should be, 2 to 3 weeks to get the building down and hopefully removed.
And then how long are we looking at? Just to be clear, we needed 2 permits from the town of Barnstable. We have one in hand. We believe we'll have the other one in the next couple of days or 2.
Yeah, typically during a demolition process, there's a long lead permit that we applied for early on, as well as we needed all of the clearances from the abatement contractor and the third-party consultant, along with DEP. Then we needed to make sure that all of the disconnects associated with the building, even though you didn't have gas to it, we had to make sure that the gas was inspected if there wasn't a line ever put in place. The water department, we ended up having to cap that, and then the electrical was the last portion of it that we needed disconnected, which we were successful in getting on Friday.
Okay, and assuming that the physical demolition takes 2 to 3 weeks, how long would we expect the planting and site remediation to take?
My gut feeling is that as the building comes down and materials are being hauled out of there, the planting materials will be delivered and stockpiled, 2 maybe 14 to 21 days at most to get everything planted and seeded.
Okay, and as I understand it, the contractor slash landscape contractor will be required to water the plantings, including the seeding, as part of their contract, and that's why the water remains connected, at the school. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the contractor owns 1 year of growth, or they call it substantial completion of germination. The part of, because the growing season typically is April 15th through June 15th, we've mandated that they provide a watering program together. And they're responsible to make sure that the plantings get established before acceptance. So that'll all occur during that process. As their plantings are going down, we'll make sure that, you know, whatever watering systems or infiltration that they need to do will occur on a regular basis, so to ensure the promotion of good, healthy plants.
Any questions from Commissioner Havel or Burdick?
You, sir.
Okay, Joe, Kevin, Kayla, thank you for the update. We appreciate it.
Mark, we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the meeting minutes approval. I believe we're looking at the meeting of May 18th. Is that correct? Have we had an opportunity to review those?
I have had an opportunity to review and I did not see any substantial changes.
Same.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of May 18th, 2026. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I said aye.
Okay.
But you didn't say second.
Second.
Let's try that again. I move that we approve the meeting minutes for the May 18th, 2026 meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I think that's done properly. Thank you.
I say so moved. It's only taken me a year to figure it out.
Okay, the next document relates to the water department accumulated sick day funding. This is an issue that has been kind of lingering, I will say. I'm looking to see if we have anyone here from the water department. I don't see anyone. The good news, and then I'm going to defer to our treasurer, Mr. Perone, is that we think we have a temporary answer and then a proposal for a more long distance. Correct?
The short-term solution would be to have the water department agree to the use of their water department stabilization fund, which can be used for any lawful purpose of the water department, to be used to pay any unbudgeted sick time reimbursement. That way, if someone were to, and I always hate the Mack truck analogy, so I use the lotto analogy, that if someone wins lotto and they decide that that's all they need to do with the district, and
Meaning they retire.
and they retire in a month during coming year, or coming years actually. And we are presented with an unbudgeted sick pay reimbursement that we would be able to access the water department funds for that purpose. It would, I believe, simply require the agreement of the water department to include that in their lawful purposes, which it would be actually.
And as I understand it, we would do that on a temporary basis, that is for the coming fiscal year. And that,
No, actually for the coming fiscal year or future. At the next annual district meeting, I would propose that we have a separate water department stabilization fund created specifically for sick day reimbursement. And we start to amortize that obligation over a certain number of periods to be included in the water department's budget.
so that would be the long-term fix.
That's the long-term fix. And in the interim, if there were insufficient funds in that stabilization fund, we would be able to access the water department stabilization, the general water department stabilization fund.
Subject to the approval of the water department, does the Prudential Committee agree with that proposed course of action?
Seems fine to me. As long as it's funded.
In your lottery example, Ray, so we're only talking about sick days here in that as part of their handbook, don't they have, timing related to retirement? Payouts?
I think Ray was being facetious. The lotto analogy means you win the lotto, you retire.
Got it, okay.
It would be that if someone died in the coming fiscal or future years before the designated fund had reached adequate funding, then we'd be able to supplement that funding with the water department existing stabilization fund.
And that would occur if someone died or retired.
Died or retired on a budgeted basis. The water department has.
No, I forget that. It's just the die or retire part. Temporary basis we would use the current fund.
Current water department stabilization fund.
And then at the next annual district meeting, move to create a long-term stabilization fund specifically relating to sick day pay.
Designated as sick pay with an amortization plan to offset the liability.
Okay. Subject to the approval of the water department, I move that we adopt Treasurer Perone's proposal in this regard.
Is that a thing? I mean, you believe that we have to vote on it? Wouldn't that be their business?
I would suggest that you vote on it after we get the water department's concurrence.
Okay, who's gonna be in charge of that?
I'll contact them.
Okay. All right, let's put this on the agenda again for next month after we receive, hopefully, return approval. The next agenda item is a review of the annual district meeting. This was inserted into the agenda at the request of the moderator, so I'll ask the moderator, Ms. Boyd, to come forward. Is that gonna work? Can she speak into that microphone, or does she need to be at the other one?
That one still works.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment, while it was still pretty fresh in our memories, to review the evening. I also want to add my thanks to Carol Zaces, Ryan, for the level of detail, the responsiveness, your availability that contributed to a smooth evening. But I also just want to have a conversation and make sure that if there is anything that didn't go well logistically, so I'm talking about the logistics of the meeting, the signing in, the papers and documents that were provided to people, the voting procedures, those kinds of things, anything that we could do better next time. So I don't want to just make a presentation to you all. I was hoping we could invite a little bit of feedback and shared learning from that.
I thought the sign-in went very well. I was concerned about that, but I thought that went more smoothly than it has in years past. I liked the idea, that each of the, committees had some period of time to address what they wanted to address. I did want to inquire, I tried to address an issue from the dais during the Prudential Committee's 5-minute period relating to the fire department. There was a communication between you and Attorney Boudreau to which we were not responsive. So I understand the ruling. I'm not sure of the basis, so I just wanted to ask you, was the basis, and just to be clear for the record, this was not that I couldn't say this. I did say my piece from the floor. It just couldn't be part of the 5-minute summary allowed each of the committees. Was that because the committee, the Prudential Committee, had voted in favor of the fire department budget? Or was it simply that, well, that's one question.
The reason was that the purpose of the 5 minutes was for you to have done an overview of the Prudential Committee's motions. And instead you chose to address the Fire Committee's motions. And that's why, after consultation with council, it was ruled out of order.
So just to be clear, if, for example, all three of us had voted against the fire department budget, we would not be able to address that in 3 minutes because that is not, quote unquote, our motion.
Correct.
So only people in favor of the motion would be able to speak in that regard.
No,
The fire department presumably is in favor of their own motion.
the fire department was making its motion. So the fire department would have their 5 minutes to speak before they make their motion. Yes, because they are making the motion. And anybody who wants to speak in opposition to it is welcome to do so from the floor.
Okay, so the Prudential Committee, which is required, I thought that's what you were getting to. I object to that very strongly because the bylaws of the Calumet Fire District specifically require the Prudential Committee weigh in, recommend or not recommend any financial motion. The idea that we cannot comment on that seems to me to be directly contradictory to the bylaws.
It would be on my position that you had lots of ample opportunity to comment on their motion during your meetings, when you were discussing among the commissioners of the Prudential Committee whether to vote in favor of their motion or not. That was your opportunity publicly to weigh in individually on your opinion. But once you have voted and the majority of you votes in favor of a motion, the Prudential Committee as an entity has approved the motion. And any individual who opposes that vote is welcome to speak from the floor.
So that was the basis for my first question. That wouldn't matter though, if all three of us voted against, for example, the fire department or the water department budget. We would not be able to address that in our 5-minute time period because of our motion. Even though we are required to not only address that, to make a recommendation. It also, there's a difference between a Prudential Committee meeting, which as we see here has 6 people, and an annual district meeting, which has 90 people. I mean, your interpretation means that the only thing we could comment on would be our motions, meaning should we get paid $1,250 a year? Should we approve the annual report? Should we approve Freedom Hall's funding? But we would not be able to say anything, at least from the dais, regarding our duties to review, approve, not approve, recommend approval or recommend rejection of a fire or water or any other financial.
Well, of course, if all three of you had voted against the fire department's motion, that would be a matter of public record and it would have been printed in the warrant. The Prudential Committee does not recommend this.
But my point is just that we can never comment during your 5-minute period on anything other than, quote, a Prudential Committee motion.
Which of course includes the entire finance department of the fire district. I mean, the budget part that pays the treasurer and pays the clerk and pays.
But not water or fire.
Correct.
So,
I'm completely
then by-
opposed to that.
so for instance, when we voted not to recommend the appropriation for the historical, the historical society.
Yeah.
We should not be allowed to, we could have mentioned that in the 5 minutes? We could have spoken to that or not?
No, that's not what our motion says. Vote of the vote.
Because that's a petitioner's motion, so we couldn't speak on that, though we voted in the negative on it, and it was our recommendation to the district, and now that particular one didn't have a huge robust conversation at a Prudential Committee meeting. You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying. The issue at stake here is the authority with which you speak to an issue.
Exactly.
When you're sitting up at the dais, you are speaking
As the Prudential Committee,
As the
not
Prudential-
recommending
Right.
something which is in the bylaws, which is our duty.
but it's a matter of public record whether you have or have not recommended it. And that's not the time to engage in debate.
I disagree strongly, and if I may, I think we gotta get back to the basics. The annual district meeting is a way to communicate with the taxpayers. And that taxpayer communication is not only what we say, but what we do and how we present ourselves. And the way things were presented conveys a false equivalence between the various commissioners and boards. And it is clearly incorrect and misleading to the taxpayers. The fire board and the water board are responsible for the operations of their respective departments. Serious responsibilities. The Prudential Committee is responsible, as outlined in the bylaws, for the financial condition and operation of the district as a whole. That is why the bylaws specifically require the Prudential Committee to take a position to opine on each and every motion, because each and every motion has a financial impact on the district. And that is what their responsibility is. Second of all, the idea that the commissioners, be it Prudential or water, would not speak from the dais as a position of authority, but have to speak as a taxpayer. When they are not a taxpayer, they are speaking as a responsible member of the elected body that governs the organization. When Mr. Zayas stands up to speak about an issue regarding the fire department, he is not the ordinary taxpayer in the audience. He is a man who has the weight and responsibility for the operation of the fire department. And that weight and responsibility needs to be communicated clearly to the taxpayers. He is not someone who's sitting next to you who could stand up and take any position, regardless of its impact on the operation of the fire department. And similarly, for the Prudential Committee, it is not just another member of the audience. It is the person speaking who has the responsibility and the weight for the operation of the district, the financial operation and condition of the district. And by the way we structure ourselves and present ourselves at the annual district meeting, communicates the governance of this organization to them.
Mr. Brown, with that much more articulately than I could have. I think that is exactly right. It is. Yeah, I mean, the Prudential Committee is required to comment on all of the financial motions, whether we say good, bad, or indifferent. Our 5 minutes should allow us to say whatever we think on a topic of importance relating to the financial health of the district.
And I think that you run into a First Amendment issue, honestly, by trying to limit what, if you give us 5 minutes, what we say. The content, it's just like public comment. I mean, you can't govern what people say. You can't even, I mean, there's time and place, but that's it. Really?
Due respect, commissioners, you never had these 5 minutes before at previous annual meetings.
We used
So-
to discuss each one, though, I mean, if the mood struck us, right?
Neither did the fire department or the water department. And
So-
by saying that everybody will have 5 minutes, there is an equivalence that doesn't exist.
I understand your concern, Mr. Treasurer,
It's
and I
not
will
a
take,
concern, ma'am. It is the bylaws of the organization.
I
It is how
understand
this
your
district
position.
Operates.
I understand your position. And as you will all recall, the ruling that I made as chair, as moderator, was after consultation with council. I understand that this is an open
Council
issue,
doesn't-
excuse me. I understand that this is an open issue. I hear your concerns. I take them seriously. And I will have conversations before, in advance of the subsequent annual district meeting. I did not make this ruling out of thin air. I consulted the other moderators that I have access to, and it was district council as well.
With respect, other organizations do not rule the operation of a district.
No, but the moderator,
Bylaws, may, the bylaws dictate the operation of the district.
I understand. I took a vow, an oath to support the bylaws, and I will abide by the bylaws.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this
Yes.
particular topic?
On this particular topic, meaning the moderators,
Meaning what we're talking about, the 5 minutes.
no.
John?
I will say, I understand, the moderator's position on the 5 minutes and speaking to the motions that are, brought to the warrant by each particular entity. I do echo Commissioner Lynch and Mr. Perone's sentiments on that the Prudential Committee does have a unique perspective into not just the finance department, but also water and fire and how they all fit together. And you're correct. We did discuss the fire department budget multiple times for the annual district meeting, which the minutes are public. But in that scenario, in that situation, as Commissioner Lynch pointed out, I mean, the district meeting is a lot of people seeing it for the first time, and having a single line on there that the Prudential approves or does not approve this is, I believe, missing a substantial amount of context. As it relates to the 5 minutes, I'm of the opinion that Prudential, if it's, if we use the 5 minutes to talk about which, pipe should be, fixed versus something else, that would be out of bounds. But in our purview as a commission, it really is anything related to the finances of the district. So I would say whether or not you continue with the 5 minutes, beforehand for each group of commissioners, or maybe it's addressed where speaking from the dais versus speaking from the microphone as a public. I do think, leveraging the authority of the Prudential Committee would be beneficial to everyone in attendance who may have not tuned into the previous discussions related to, a particular issue.
I do think that the question about how the voters can best be informed about these complicated issues is an important one. And if you are ready to pivot away from this particular topic around the annual district meeting, I would like to address that.
I have nothing further to add on this particular topic.
The general district meeting? Or are we talking specifically about what we've been discussing right now? Are you
I think you wanted to move on, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
from the district meeting entirely or just
No,
this particular?
no, that particular subtopic of the district meeting. I came away from, the annual district meeting feeling that, because of the complexity of the issues that the voters were voting on, specifically on the very large budget items, that there had not been enough public communication. I understand the complexity of people opting perhaps not to take advantage of every opportunity available to them to read the budgets ahead of time, but it was clear from many of the comments at the annual district meeting that voters believed that that was a forum for discussion and for questions that were of an informational nature. And one of the things I will do differently next time is do an eyeball check with the commissioners sitting up at the dais next to me to see if any of them would like to answer a question that a voter has asked. But as we all know, that is not the primary purpose of the annual district meeting. So I put it before you as commissioners of the Prudential Committee to challenge yourselves and invite about how the communication about these important issues could be improved. Posting agenda items and making publicly available Zoom meetings is an important, necessary, but in my judgment, not sufficient step. I'm sure all of you who go to the Katuitt Post Office have noticed that the bulletin board, the Katuitt Fire District bulletin board in the post office has not been updated in years. The Civic Association is a voluntary organization. It is not their legal obligation to be your communication arm. I think you could be serving the voters better by challenging yourselves to develop a more robust communication plan.
Sorry, do you mind if I just follow up?
Not at all.
Or I guess, so you mentioned that it's almost like the purpose of the annual district meeting is not to be a forum for discussion as a community, but mostly, I guess, to just, we do all, the commissioners do their work beforehand, put it forward. And I'm not saying this, but essentially kind of sit back and say, well, everyone has the information they need and, presumably just go through each one and vote. Is that, from your research, is that kind of, is that part of the annual district meeting, or is that your interpretation of it? The only reason I ask is I believe if we start earlier and it can go a little bit longer, sure. But I believe it is a unique opportunity for the community to have that discussion, to understand what their neighbors think related to topics, maybe not the basics of information. And I also completely agree with you in terms of better communication from all boards or commissions. But I'm just wondering specifically about the annual district meeting forum versus, strictly voting, tally the votes, and then we're all out of here.
My understanding, and some of you here have more experience with this than I do, is that nobody is required to answer a question that a voter puts to the commissioners.
No one is required, of course.
Yeah.
But people do frequently. And I've been through many district meetings, many. And, I honestly don't know what to say to your last remarks. I don't know what to say. It has traditionally been a time for discourse over the contents of the warrant. That's just the way it is. And that's why, I think that also kind of dovetails with what the discussion about where the commissioners speak from and all of that. We're supposed to have the discussions necessary at the meeting. I think for you to try to kick it back to us and say we didn't do enough communication, I don't even know what to say to that, and that's fine. More people are always going to show up at the annual district meeting than show up to any of the informational events that occur prior to it. That is always, as long as I've been involved, that's always been the way of it. Because most people are happy to think about it at the meeting when they're doing it, and they will gladly show up to do that very thing. I don't think that expediency is the watchword of the district meeting. I don't know what, maybe I shouldn't have even started to respond. I think that there needs to be a robust question and answer period, and no one is required. But as elected officials, we have volunteered for that opportunity to not only craft, but to explain and respond to our constituents insofar as I know you have a differing opinion on what our role is in that process, but that's the whole point of the district meeting. And, I think that, yeah, we can, of course, maybe you believe that we're deficient in our, and maybe the water commissioners and the fire commissioners as well. I hope you'll share that information with them as well, that we're deficient in our attempts to spread the word and to get the message out there and to inform the voters. That's not my opinion, obviously, but even if that were the case, then the annual district meeting is the time for people to respond to the questions. And just, you prefaced it that way, that people are not required to, which is absolutely true, and people mustn't, they don't have to, but they will. I will, Ray will,
And
whomever will.
And what I meant to say a moment ago that I wasn't clear enough about, was that, I think I made a mistake in cutting people off and telling them that their question was out of order without checking with a commissioner who would have had the information. And I didn't give people an opportunity to answer from the dais, the voters' question, and that was an error, and I'll do it differently next time.
Well, thank you.
I do agree that the expediency is great, but the meeting is always kind of long, a little bit cumbersome, but well worthwhile for us to slog through these issues. I think it's really hard for people, especially people we talk, at these meetings all the time, and we get used to it. I think a lot of people are a little intimidated, honestly, to stand up at a meeting where they know their neighbors, some of them are opposed to what they're going to say. And encouraging that is really something that we should be doing and something that you as moderator should be doing.
I agree with you.
John.
Yeah, just couple additional ones. I do want to say that I believe that every meeting that you've moderated or been a part of, whether it's official district business or civic association kind of meetings, I believe I think you do an exceptional job doing it. Not just commanding the room, but also maintaining the level of calm, being fair, impartial. And so, certainly, I just want to, support your role as a moderator and what you're trying to accomplish here and rethinking it. I just have one clarifying question in that, I guess the word I'm thinking of tonight is context, both in terms of the context of each warrant article, but then also I'm wondering, when the single line of the Prudential Committee approves or does not approve of this, this motion, is that written somewhere where that's all we have to do and that's all we can do? Or, for example, when the warrant goes out and in draft form, can additional information be included in that so that people can see this is what we're voting on, and also this is whether it's the Prudential Committee or fire or water or all three in combination, this is the perspective of each body, so that maybe there's a little bit more information that can be provided beforehand. I'm mostly just kind of asking about that one line in there.
I don't know.
Let me jump in there if I can, because I was looking at Mashpee. There's the difference, of course. Mashpee is a much larger entity. They have a finance committee. They get together separately and vote. The votes are listed next to everyone, which would be helpful. To say that the Prudential Committee recommends this would be helpful to know to some people, I think. 3-0-2-1.
Yep.
Like, okay, that immediately signals someone doesn't like this, why?
Mhm.
Also, at least some of the ones had, as they do sometimes, uncomplicated bond questions in the state election. They had little, pretty much what you're describing, little summaries.
Mhm.
I don't know. But it is, what you're suggesting is possible and done elsewhere.
I've only seen it done this way within the fire district, so I was just wondering, are we held to this standard for some reason? Or since it is just kind of I'm not gonna say informal, but it's a preview of the meeting script. If it can, we could, for next year, potentially think about adding a little bit more color beforehand.
If we're gonna do that, we need to start talking about it like now, because we all know what's a month before.
Oh, yeah.
We do send out, and maybe we have to make sure that we send out with the budget with the warrant.
Yes.
I just have a couple more things, if I may. They're pretty quick. I regret not saying, acknowledging Charlie Eager's many years of service. That was an oversight on my part, and I regret that. That was a mistake. I wanted to encourage you to get in touch with the Katuitt Federated Church and give them an opportunity to let you know what additional costs they may have incurred. I don't know that they did, but they may have incurred because of hosting the meeting there. And I would encourage the Prudential commissioners to consider reimbursing the church for those costs. Finally, in my capacity as moderator, I am appointing voters to both the bylaws and the policy advisory committees. The only appointment that I'm prepared to make tonight is Patty Daly will continue on the bylaws committee. And having served as chair last year, she will continue in her capacity as chair until that group meets again and decides whether to re-endorse, vote her in again. I wonder if you commissioners have had a chance yet, and if not, could we do it right now to let me know which of you will be serving on bylaws and which on policy advisory?
No, you haven't appointed anyone to those spots yet.
Correct. I invited people to volunteer and nobody stepped forward.
Nobody, zero,
Nobody, zero.
just Pat.
Well, here's what I did. I emailed the people who served last year and I asked them if they were interested in continuing. I've heard from them, but I'm not prepared tonight publicly to mention the other appointments because I need to go back to those folks and confirm with them that they're interested.
Right, generally it was always done at the meeting and on the night. Right?
I did invite people to come forward and nobody spoke to me that night.
What's the time by the bylaws? Is there a time?
It's no, it says at the meeting or subsequently.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Because we always did it up until recently. Have that be a thing.
Yeah. Bylaws and policy advisory?
Whichever, it doesn't matter to me, wherever you put it. Mr. Chairman.
Unfortunately, I have to admit that I was derelict in my responsibilities as the representative from the Policy Advisory Committee, and I would like the opportunity to rectify that, and so I would volunteer to represent on the Policy Advisory Committee, and ensuring that we meet earlier in the year and more frequently.
So by the process of elimination, then I'll be on the bylaws.
Okay, thank you. And I just double checked the bylaws before coming down this evening because the Policy Advisory Committee does need to be convened by the Prudential Committee representative at its first meeting, and I'll let you know who.
That would be.
That would be me.
That would be you,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
I'll let you know who those people are, but the Bylaws Committee does not need to be convened by the Prudential Committee appointee. So Ms. Daly as chair can convene that and you all can take it from there. I think those are my, the things that I wanted to discuss with you all. I appreciate the conversation.
I have one point about the annual district meeting that I would like to make, and I don't know if it is just me or if I, and as I said, and I told you on the night, I thought by and large, you did a fine job with the meeting. I appreciate, you've always done a good job moderating things. We have obviously, some of the finer points that we need to work out. But at the beginning of the meeting, recognizing a member of the church to essentially do an ad for the church, I thought was not appropriate. I don't see where that fits into the whole process. I really don't.
I had invited them to welcome us
Right.
into their space, and that's how they chose to
Right.
use their time.
I don't think that that's appropriate personally, just from a separation standpoint and from orders of the day standpoint. And that's my opinion. I'm giving you my opinion.
I hear it. Thank you.
And
Si.
I don't want to beat you up over it. or
I had
whatever.
no say over what they
Yeah.
said.
But I would just
I take your comment. I
Yeah.
hear you.
Anyway, thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we typically have these meetings, the annual district meetings at Freedom Hall, where we get close sometimes to bumping up against occupancy.
Yes.
And it's never happened as far as I know that, we've had to adjourn an annual district meeting because you'd hate for that to happen. I just point that out. I don't know that I have an answer for it, other than to.
Well, of course, the decision about where the ADM happens is not my decision, so
Yeah,
we
certainly
I will show up and moderate wherever the meeting's held.
happy to have your thoughts on any issue related to the ADM. Any other thoughts on this topic from the Prudential Committee?
Not for me.
Well, I thank you for coming.
Yeah, I just want to close by putting it in the minutes that anybody, any of the voters who have any suggestions or comments about the ADM can reach me at my fire district email address. I'll read them all. See what people have to say.
All right, thank you. Thanks. Do appreciate it. The next topic is, as promised / threatened, on the agenda. Again, that is the Katuitt Fire District website update.
Yes, by the skin of my teeth, I made a claim last meeting and, earlier today, I was able to follow through on that. So what I will say right now is that, after, last minute and, slightly rushed, but also, I think it was ample time for the water department. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to talk to Commissioner Zace, but I think he and I share a similar mentality with this type of project. The new website is live currently. And as far as, as far as I can tell, and I truly believe, all of the meetings dating back to 2010 are correct and present, even though it wasn't necessary. There is a few more features, and the layout looks a little bit different, but I did my best to at least address, shift around, and keep the same content, whether it's a news post about something related to the water department or updates on the school remediation project. Make sure that content does exist and does have a home on the website. I hesitate to do a much more in-depth, I guess, presentation about it, only because it is very, very new. There is still a couple kind of back end things that I would need to address, but those do not affect the current functionality of the website. I have communicated with, again, the fire department, the water department, and Ryan, who are the ones who actively are responsible for posting and editing stuff on the website. And I hope made it clear that, hey, it's probably not going to be perfect, but I think it's good enough. And, as the week progresses, I will, sit down and make sure that they have the appropriate information they need in order to do, what's required on them. I did provide fairly in-depth documentation about how to create meetings, edit meetings, add stuff here and there. And again, as it relates to the basically, I can continue on or I can stop there, but, what I would ask, the chairman is that, next month or at our next meeting, if it would please the board and potentially, any public in attendance, do kind of an overview of what's different, how it works, and, I guess give it a little bit more time to iron out some of the wrinkles, but through personal and professional obligations and an intense amount of procrastination, I apologize that it took this long to do it. I do have strong opinions on if we were to continue this type of development. I felt very isolated. I didn't have an accountability buddy, so to speak. And so I think approaching it in a different way would be a lot more effective. That said, I was able to address a lot of the accessibility concerns, and then there's still more to do specifically related to the PDFs that are saved and uploaded, so that they can be available for screen readers, which would affect every department. But beyond that, we do have now full control of our website, both in terms of the hosting and how it looks, where information goes. So I do not expect this to be the finished. We're never going to touch it again. It will continue to be a work in progress. But yeah, so on that note, if anyone does have any concerns, questions, suggestions, whatever it might be, my information is on the website, and please feel free to reach out, and I will do my best to address them in a timely manner.
John, congratulations.
Yes, well done.
This is news to me. I'm literally looking up the new Katowice Fire District website, and I can tell you that visually, at least, it is 100% better. Why don't we put it on the agenda for next month with the idea solely for you to kind of run through it with us?
Yeah.
And hopefully an audience. But this is terrific.
Thank you.
We'll iron out the wrinkles as we go.
Oh, thanks.
Numbers of thoughts from the audience.
My expectation would be to kind of show where it's been and why it's been that way, and kind of map out, okay, this used to be here, now this is how it's done, now this is how it looks. So again, I believe it should be a little bit more intuitive, should be a little bit more user friendly, but as with anything new, who knows how people are going to, what's going to work and what's not going to work for most people. So, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next agenda item is the treasurer's report.
Yes, sir. So the second last month of the year, the revenue is actually and exceeds the budget, the annual budget. So I think from a revenue standpoint, we can say that we are in a pretty strong position, and that will be even after we move some of the grant and insurance monies that we have received, which will be lowering the revenue by about 33,000. Is that a number, or am I much shy of that?
I think there's a bit more.
There's more. That will be revenue and expense will be moved to the special revenue fund, which will relieve primarily the fire department of an equivalent amount of expense. So from a revenue standpoint, we are in a very strong position. And as we go through the expenditures, Prudential is going to finish, and what I'm doing is I'm adding my opinion about the projection of where we're going to end up, that I've looked at. And so Prudential will end up at or below budget for that article. Fire department will be the same after we have, there's the number right there. 79,000 of federal insurance and state and local state grants rather. And the insurance is a workers' comp, which will move salary and workers' comp payments to the special revenue fund. The federal grants are the money that we've received for the chief being on duty. And the state grants are a couple of grants that the fire department has applied for and won this year. And these will be reclassed to the special revenue fund where they are supposed to live according to accounting rules. They should come into the general fund, but then move to the special revenue fund. And so that will have an equivalent reduction in the expenses for the fire department. Water department is in good shape. They look like they will once again finish under the budget target for the year. Freedom Hall on the salary side will be again over, and I think it's really a fault when I set the budget. There's a built-in lag that I didn't take into account, and we usually end up about $500 to $1,000 over budget in that area. So to avoid that problem, I'm suggesting that the Prudential Committee move $1,500 from the reserve fund to the Freedom Hall salary line. And I have a motion that I'll present to you to do that. Streetlights are over budget, and that's due to the primarily due to the blizzard repairs. We're going to be about $5,500 over the budget, and I'm recommending that we transfer that $5,500 from the reserve fund, the streetlight maintenance budget to take care of that variance. Library is completed on budget. Debt service is on schedule, awaiting the last short-term payment of the June ban to be recorded. I think it's all taken place already in terms of cash coming in and going out, but we have yet to reflect it in the records because this is as of May, not June. Benefits are over target right now to the medical insurance, but I think overall the article is going to come in on target. But that they bear taking another look at to make sure that that's true. And we might even raise a motion to make a transfer as a preventative to avoid a negative variance in that article. I think what happened is we had some people move to the option that we didn't anticipate this year. Transfers are all done, accounting wise. They're going to be completed this week in terms of the cash movement. The reserve fund has not been touched. Turning to the articles on the next page, I can do the things. The funds are, as you see, one of the problems that I encountered, and I apologize, I encountered this late for a host of reasons, but I couldn't access the Cape 5 account for stabilization. So I'm missing a month of interest in that 850 figure. The water department stabilization is up to date. The brokerage account for T-bills and cash is up to date as of the end of May. And June, we had a maturity of one of the T-bill ladders, in other words, sequenced. That came in cash. We're still substantially behind on the expenditure side. Something like, $3 million behind in expenditures. And so when that $3 million came in, we end up with about $6 million of cash, which I was able to deploy today into two T-bills, one 30-day, one 60-day, so that we keep that surplus cash employed to earn interest. Other capital is primarily in cash, and a lot of that is going out this month as we speak. Of the 1,475,000 for the school demo catch up, and will be going out as we heard from the project manager, probably in July, as well, as once the building demo starts ratcheting up, that will deploy those cash reserves. The special revenue doesn't reflect the transfers, but it does have the PFAS. We got another 117, so we have approximately 100, approaching $200,000 of PFAS grant money being held in reserve for future use. And that's about the summary of the cash position. In terms of the articles, everything is within the budget amounts for the articles. The school, as I said, the fire station is substantially behind. I would expect that to start catching up over the next 2 to 3 months. Both the school and, well, the fire department is an article, so that will naturally carry over. The school will be encumbered for the total amount. So as the payments go out in the following year, they will not impact future year expenditures. They will be all part of an encumbrance and paid through the encumbrance. That's about it, other than, as I mentioned, the two areas where I do feel that we ought to move money, and the third area where I want to take another look to make sure that we don't exceed that medical expense, or the benefit article. We want to take a look at the medical expense going up. The retirement, the larger piece is fixed. The only part is I think it's the last quarter payment of the medical option.
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't give you an answer.
Yeah, that's one. And that's about all I had.
And so do you have two motions for us to vote on tonight?
Yes, I do. I'm proposing that the Prudential Committee direct the treasurer to transfer the following amounts from the reserve account. 1.5 to Freedom Hall salary account and 5.5 to the street light maintenance account.
And just to be clear, we're talking about thousands of dollars, $1.5 thousand,
$5.5
$5,500.
yes. So we're using 7,000 of the $45,000 reserve fund.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
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 Anything else from the treasurer?
Unless there are questions.
Seeing no questions, I believe the only thing we have left is public comment. Bear with me one moment. That's correct. Any public comment, either from Freedom Hall or elsewhere?
Adam's eyes on Zoom.
Go ahead, Adam.
John, just wanted to get back to you on the website. I apologize for the delay. I did text you before the meeting, hoping it would get to you so you could say that you'd gotten thumbs up from me. But yeah, everything looks good.
Thank you. Sorry, it did come down to the last minute, but I do appreciate it.
Any other public comment? Go ahead, Carol.
So hard waiting because on something. It's so hard waiting for. It's so hard waiting for conversations, and particularly when you were talking, when Lally was talking as a moderator, like, check and see if anybody wants to respond, but anyways, I have waited. I forgot to say, thank you for using the microphones. I was glad that I was able to help Brian and this board understand that the system was not broken. You just needed to ask Civic Association, because they use it all the time. Is there any way to, second thing, is there any way to get answers to questions that I placed in the first public comment, Valerie, and about records and digitization?
For the records, as far as from what I've gathered from Sandra, that we do have everything. I haven't found everything that's in the basement, so like, there's a lot of stuff I haven't gone through and saw, but I will double check and reach out to her again just to confirm that. Because she gave me a tote when I first took over, and it was not a lot of items, but I don't know what was put in the basement prior to this being the last box, so I don't know if it's sitting down there or if maybe she just didn't know it. So I'll reach out to Sandra again.
What things can you talk about, fire department?
The fire department's basement.
So that
yeah.
stuff might have been. Yeah, okay.
Cool, great about that.
Yeah, could even though I have my fancy new hearing aids and the echo just confuses them. What was your question specifically?
This was about Charlie Eater's files.
It was about.
We have gotten all, we have gotten all,
To do with fire district voter files, were always kept in his basement.
we have gotten all his files,
Okay.
as far as his wife is aware of files.
All right, thank you for answering that. And I would. One way to find out about Freedom Hall and annual district meeting volumes is to go back in time and see how many people come to the annual district meetings. And I had to do this a number of years ago, 3 years ago. And I went to Charlie Eater and got that information. And except for the big meetings around the school and stuff, we've always been, below 100-ish. Sometimes even less than that. So I really would look forward to coming back to Freedom Hall for our meetings whenever possible. I'm just putting that out there. And then tonight, I think this is your first meeting after the ADM. Is that correct? So don't you have to elect a new chair?
I believe we do.
You're appointing committee members without electing chair. That's all.
I am happy to be chair again if my fellow commissioners accede to that. Other than that, I'm happy to hear other nominations.
I also support Commissioner Lynch remaining as chair. Do you agree, Seth?
I move that Mark Lynch be chair.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And chair again.
Great.
Students, when you guys were talking about Victoria, Lally was talking about reaching out. Does anybody know the history of how budget and candidate night came to be? Because I certainly don't, but I think it was in reference to trying to get more information out to the community prior to the ADM. So maybe we can improve on that, or I don't know, but
Rich Bode.
I think there was some history there as to how that came about that had to do with the same questions that came up tonight.
That does not surprise me.
It might have been Paul Noonan. I think it started with Katuitt condominiums. this is just for my entertainment, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
But I think it was around the time that the Katuiting condominiums were built. And I think the Civic Association had disappeared as an organization and then was brought back because of public outcry regarding the development there. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Paul Noonan and maybe Richard Bowden who brought the Civic Association back with the purpose of informing people about what was going on. And I think the Canada Budget Night was born of that. Not that it matters, it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
It is pretty well attended, but there are always still other people that can't make that night. So I don't know if we want to play that out or play it down, play it differently, just let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah, it has been recorded, and it's on the website. On fire, okay.
Any other public comment?
There's no more public comment on Zoom.
It's on the Civic Association.
Okay, with that, I will take a motion to
Well,
adjourn.
I have matters not reasonably anticipated.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, it's just more of a thought. It's more of a philosophical, I put my philosophical thoughts. How to provoke discussion, but I want to have a discussion now because I know this is a matter unanticipated by the chair. So in light of all of the, or in response to all of the irregularities surrounding the annual district meeting election this year, we discovered certain irregularities that were inherent in the system. Whether it be bylaws issues or, how the mail-in ballots, so I guess the basis of it is based on the input of several authorities on the topic, whether it's the Secretary of State's office, the Attorney General's office, or the town clerk of the town of Barnstable. We have a significant number of irregularities that exist within the current system. And like, for instance, but notwithstanding the mail-in ballots, the clerk of the town of Barnstable maintains that our whole election is wrong. Beyond the idea of mail-in ballots, that it's a meeting, it's an election within the meeting, it's a long story. But so what I'm advocating for here is that we undertake through our activities or a subcommittee or one of the extant subcommittees a thorough vetting of our bylaws and our procedures as it pertains to these things and see where we actually are. Because we're in jeopardy in a number, we could be in jeopardy in a number of different ways and not even realize it, obviously. And the way that Ms. Daly mentioned is just one of many. So I think we need to get on top of that. So I'd like to see that appear on our agenda in the future, in the near future, so that we don't even know what we're doing at this point, but I can assure you there are things that are archaic and wrong. So that's one thing. And as a corollary to that, it's been a long time since we've had a governance study. And I think a governance study may be appropriate and even, as I said, a corollary or an aspect of the reworking of the bylaws and making sure that we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing. So that's another thought. That could be a standalone thought, or that could be, as I said, a function of that first one. So those are two things that I think we need to handle right away. I'm just, as I said, outlining things that I'm thinking about, that I believe that since this is our new session, that we should be thinking about in the coming year. And the second or third thing, depending on how you want to look at it, is that through either the work of the Prudential Committee or the Bylaws Committee or the Policy Advisory Committee, because it could theoretically touch at any number of those things, is trying to create for ourselves some form of, not a Proposition 2.5, but some form of guardrail, or at least a framework for guidance in budgeting as it pertains, not necessarily so much to Ray, but to the departments, and so that we can try to establish a predictable pattern of budgetary increases outside of, or in conjunction with our capital budget, which we seem to have kind of pushed a lot of the stuff through it now that is really going to create these significant variances. That in the future we can have some framework. It doesn't, I don't know what the mechanism for that is. Of course, if it's an enabling legislation change that you want to be legally binding, that we want to be legally binding, or if it's a policy or procedure or however.
I would suggest we formulate that through a financial policy
Right.
statement.
We need to have a fiscal policy and a revenue strategy here in the fire district that, you know, as our costs and as our levy escalates, that it's important for us to at least have those things in place in order to inform decision-making, at least in the near term.
Yeah.
And especially out into the midterm and long term. The long term may change, of course, based on who's sitting here, but, yeah, so I mean, that's the basis of it. Those are some of the things that I've been thinking about. And then one more thing. Sorry. And we did this once before, years past, but I think it's high time that we start doing it again, is some kind of collaboration, whether it's again, an ad hoc committee or whatever, or a joint meeting of all the commissioners so that we can discuss our operation and capital needs going forward into the next, if we pick a time frame, 3 to 5 fiscal years or whatever, and try to iron that out over a period of however long it takes, so that we're not all operating independent of one another, but with a cohesive strategy for the district. And, you know, all of these things are essentially things that we've heard from the public, things that I've been thinking about, things that we've discussed. But I think that it's now high time in order to try and, you know, we've gotten better over the last 10 years or the 6 years I've been here, 10 or 12 years I've been participating at making things predictable and regulating things and becoming more, you know, I don't use the word professional, whatever the term you want to use, but I think we'll have some momentum now going forward that we can go a little bit further if we put them in our forefront of our thought now and work on them as it progresses.
A couple of thoughts on that. The governance study, for those of you who are not aware, is now 25 years old, I believe, it was a lengthy, kind of exhaustive study of our Katuitt Fire District form of government and whether taxpayers were getting good value for it. Probably in need of update if it's 25 years old. One comment I do want to make about use the term irregularities in the voting bylaws, just to be perfectly clear. We don't think we're doing anything incorrectly, but fire districts are strange animals. For example, when if you ask the Attorney General's office, if you tell them that our voting is from 12 to 4, they will tell you that is absolutely not acceptable. And then when you tell them that that's in our bylaws, they kind of grumble and mumble and say, well, then it's okay. In terms of the absentee ballots, which were mentioned, again, our procedures were one day absolutely unacceptable, and then literally 24 hours later, we got the word that no, that was fine. Again, because presumably the first time they were referring to election law in general, and the second time they were referring to what we are allowed to do as a fire district. So
yeah, I do. Irregularity is not in the zeitgeisty kind of way, but
okay.
Eccentricities.
Eccentricities, I think is a great word for it, and our review to make sure that our eccentricities are nothing more than that is probably worthwhile. I'll start putting the stuff on the agenda.
Yeah, so anyway, that's my 2 cents. So.
Anything else? Public comment or anything not reasonably anticipated? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. Recording.